So with number 20, we're going into a new section, and the directions for this section are to simplify the radical, assume that all variables represent positive real numbers. So number 20, we've been given the square root of 25 over 36. And since we're dealing with square roots, you may recognize right away that 25 is a perfect square and that 36 is a perfect square. And so when these two numbers come out, well, the square root of 25 is 5, the square root of 36 is 6, and so you end up with 5 over 6. If, however, you don't particularly like working with a fraction under the radical, what you can do is you can break up a big radical like this into two smaller radicals. And what I mean by that is we can go ahead and take this initial radical and break it into radical 25 over radical 36. And here again, we'll end up with the same answer, but visually speaking, it may be easier for you to see why we end up with 5 over 6. What is the square root of 25? Well, that's 5. What is the square root of 36? Well, that's 6. And so we arrive at the same answer. So this is a really important rule to know that you can go from one single radical. If you have a fraction under your radical, you can break this up into two separate radicals where your numerator now becomes its own radical in the numerator. Your denominator becomes now its own radical but in the denominator. Or you can go back the other way. You can take two separate radicals like this and rewrite them as one single radical. So it's good to know that rule because going from one to the other can be helpful depending on what the question is asking you. But in this case, number 20, we end up with just 5 over 6.